Is Bitcoin following the 4-year cycle? Has Bitcoin bottomed? Look at this. This is telling us that Bitcoin looks like it's following the 4-year cycle if we go with this chart. And this is a very, very helpful chart. I'm going to get to silver and the stock market in a moment because we had some great weekly closes. But look at this. How well has this chart, this signal, predicted the bear market and the bull market each time? See, the red dot means bear market has ended, and the green dot means bull market has now started, right? Basically says here, look how accurate that signal is, right? Bull market has started. Bear market has ended, bull market started. Bear market has ended, bull market started. Bear market has ended. That came in around 17, 18, 19K. Bull market started. That came in around 23, 24, 25K, right? But basically this period in between is the bottom. So far where we are now at around 64K, we haven't had the red signal yet, and we haven't had the green signal, certainly. We haven't even had the red signal yet. But what is this red signal? This is actually relatively simple to understand. Why does this metric work so well? Basically, it's whenever this orange line and the blue line cross, right? Whenever it crosses, first time, blue line dips below. It's like a moving average. They're not moving averages, but you understand. When this one dips below, we go red. When this one comes above again, we go yellow or we go green. So what's the blue line and what's the orange line? Orange line is long-term holders' realized price, right? And blue line is, of course, the short-term holders' realized price. And we're using it kind of like a moving averages, as if a shorter term, like a shorter, quicker moving average is going below and then above a longer term moving average, signaling bottom. So why does this thing work? It makes intuitive sense. Well, look, realized price just means basically what's the price that long-term holders sold or bought their Bitcoins at, right? So, and then we look at the short-term holders. When did they sell or buy their Bitcoins at? That's the blue line. So we can see for the long-term holders, their average, right, average acquisition price, the price which they buy Bitcoins at, does not go up very much, right? It comes up slowly, right? They buy the dollar cost averaging slowly, right? Whilst the short-term traders, they basically just pile in, follow the trend. And see, when this is when Bitcoin goes down like 80%, when it goes down 80%, here it went down 75%. When Bitcoin goes down like 70, 80%, then the long-term holders, they slowly catch up with their buying, right? This is a log chart. So from here, this price where Bitcoin was at all-time highs down to here is actually already down 70, 80%. I know it doesn't look that much on the chart, but this is not a natural chart. It's a logarithmic chart. So the blue line basically means the short-term holders, they're buying, selling, short-term traders. And when they're buying and selling, trading in the same area that the long-term holders are trading, what it actually means is that my interpretation is that some short-term holders are actually puking out their Bitcoins and selling to the long-term holders. And long-term holders now step in and they start buying. Right? And that's when now we get the red and the green signal. Because short-term holders, they will buy, sell, right? All the way along here, fluctuating with Bitcoin. But short-term holders, look at this. They're like about, the long-term holders, they could be like months behind. They're like, their price is probably, average price is probably 80%, even 90% average entry below Bitcoin price at that moment. Another way you could look at this is you could say, well, actually, what if we just forget the blue line? What if we just say it's whenever Bitcoin actually dips below? Like that's actually a way of looking at it as well. So basically when Bitcoin, which is price, which is white line, dips below the orange line, right? That's the end of the bull market, a bear market. End of the bear market, start of the bull market is when it starts going above the long-term holders' price of entry, right? We don't look at the blue line, we just look at the white line. Like here was the red dot, here is the green dot. Here was the red dot, here's the green dot. And we still, even by that metric, white line hasn't touched the yellow line yet. So then why do they use this blue line? Well, because the blue line, like any moving average, which is not a moving average, but like any moving average, it's actually in a way, it's kind of the moving average of short-term holder entry price. It's more smooth. If we were to use the white line, you can see how choppy this is. You'd have it dip below here, go above here, and dip below again, go above again, dip below again. So if we use a smoothed out line, like the average price of realized price of short-term holders, you get a more smooth signal. It's basically just smoothing the signal. But what it's actually trying to say is basically that short-term, long-term holders are not buying at this price, not buying at this price, not buying at this price. And then when Bitcoin drops like 80, 70, 80%, then the short-term, long-term holders move up, and their average buy price is starting to be here. This is when even the long-term holders, some of them on average, are losing money, right? Their average entry price for long-term holders is here, right? The people who buy and hold for more than 155 days, And that means basically, even the long-term holders, some of them are underwater. And when that happens, basically, then the Bitcoin is getting support, right? It's basically long-term holders are stepping in and are buying around here, and even they're at a loss. That's usually when pessimism has gone too far and Bitcoin bottoms. So the basically, if we were to go by those standards, then we could say, well, the bear market hasn't ended, and certainly bull market hasn't started. That could be true. If you believe in the 4-year cycle, then this would be a very good description, a very good place of where you think we are. If you believe in the 4-year cycle, then you're basically saying, okay, the red dot hasn't been generated yet, so bear market hasn't ended yet. And even the white line, which is Bitcoin price, has not dropped below the orange line, which is the long-term holders realized price average, right? The long-term buyer's price. Long-term buyer's price right now is more like at 40K or so. So that helps when people say, oh, look, I think Bitcoin is going for a 4-year cycle, which means it will drop to about October. October is the bottom because October was the top, remember? October was the top. So October, as early as October and as late as November, so around here. And it'll go to about 42K or whatever, because that's where the long-term holders are, right? Long-term holders average cost. This is around 40K right now. This is the price. Basically, the long-term holders are at around here. The long-term holders are around here, which is around this level. Yeah, 40K, like I said. They're around 40K right now. So if we had to map out the long-term holders, they would be around this level, 39, 40K. And October to November is when you would expect Bitcoin to dip down, hit that level, right? They might rise. They might start buying. Their average cost of entry might rise to about here, like 52 or whatever, even 45, 48. And we get that one more dip down into October and November. I'm giving you guys the time and the price. If you believe in the 4-year cycle, if you believe the 4-year cycle, sure, right? It's worked exactly here. I even made a video on it on the day. I didn't take it seriously. I didn't think that was going to be the exact 4-year top. Let's say if it plays out. If it plays out, I'm not saying it will. I'm not in that camp. But if it plays out, then we're going to bottom around October to November, around here in terms of time and in terms of price, something like in the 40s, because you're at the average for long-term holders is around 40K, 38, 39K right now, and they'll buy some more when that time comes. So that'll lift their average to about like 42, 43 in October, November. So that calls for like one more bounce, one more dip down to here, and Bitcoin bottoms 4-year cycle, and up we go again. Except I don't think that's how it plays out this time. I think what plays out, and by the way, this is ETH, by the way. ETH must hold area. This is 16.9K. Sorry, 1,690, right? And it's self-explanatory. I mean, I've explained the red trend line support and the yellow trend line support and how ETH must hold this level. And basically, before this drop, when I saw Michael Saylor selling, I said, okay, ETH is going to wick below this red line and needs to hold this 1850 area. But I said that when it was around 2100, but obviously we've gone lower. I was basing my faith around this red line. Should have based it around this yellow line instead. So basically, why do I think the Bitcoin 4-year cycle is playing out? Well, that's because the 4-year cycle is basically, let me get you the 4-year cycle chart, is basically going to get influenced. There are a couple of reasons, but one of the reasons is SP500 is in a blow-off top. We can see SP500 is in a blow-off top, and NASDAQ is in a blow-off top as well. And this is one of my favorite charts to look at the moment. I've spoken about both of them yesterday, but they're so good, I'm going to speak about it again today. So we all know that the NASDAQ moves, ahead of the SP500. NASDAQ basically is more explosive because it has all technology stocks, where SP500 is more across the board, US economy, and it's not as dynamic. I've spoken about this yesterday, but these charts are so amazing right now. I'm going to talk about it briefly again. If you want to see the full version, watch yesterday's video. Now, here's the thing. The NASDAQ broke out of its long-term pattern first. Once they bounced out of the COVID crash. Here's the COVID crash. The NASDAQ, right? Because all the technology stocks, the Magnificent Seven, it was in this huge rising channel. And then it basically broke out, came down, retest, and then up it went into an even steeper channel, and then broke down, and then now come back to retest, right? That's the NASDAQ. It leads the way. NASDAQ leads the way. If we want to call a blow-off top, the NASDAQ has been in a blow-off top already. It's already gone on a blow-off top run because it's already left this rising channel. So you see how there's a rising channel, right? And then when you basically go above that rising channel and you go on an even steeper angle, like this pen. This pen, for example, breaks out of the rising channel and it goes on an even steeper angle, then basically it goes nearly vertical. The angle gets steeper and steeper and steeper, right? That's what's happening here. It used to travel at this speed, and now it's traveling at this speed. That's what we call blow-off top. Now, what the SP500 is going through is basically a slower version of this. See, SP500, right? Again, breaking out of this green rising channel. It's just breaking out now. It's yet to get into the blue channel and then bounce off here, and then we almost bounced off, right? Top of the green channel, and then we're going to bounce again. So the thing is this. Every time there's a crisis, right, in the US, it drops, right? But this is the trade war, and then after the crisis, we bounce out of the previous channel, right? And then when there's the next crisis, the Iran oil crisis, we dip like a little bit into the channel, bounce off the channel, and then we go into an even more steep channel. We hit the top of that channel, and we bounce down, right? Similar thing happening to SPY, except here was a trade war, here was the Iran war. And it's basically we bounce from here. We haven't got into the blue channel yet, and we're about to bounce off the green channel here. I hope folks understand that. So if the stock market is going for a blow off top, then I don't see why Bitcoin has to go into like a drop into 40s or even 30s just because there's a so-called 4-year cycle. I understand why the 4-year cycle happened in the past is because the miners influence on the market every 4 years is getting smaller and smaller. The miners can only sell something like 260,000 Bitcoin right now. So that's not a lot. That I spoke about this before, but anyways, a few episodes ago, the Bitcoin miners' influence on the market is something like less than 1% a year of the supply.
So the 4-year cycle says Bitcoin bottoms in October around 40,000. Pablo's not buying it. And now you know exactly why. If this breakdown helped you see the market clearer, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you want the full picture, the community link is in the description. Catch you next episode.